Right, I think we all know what's going on. There's been a massive scandal involving Mohammed Hijab and some woman. And apparently, I think it's no secret. So I can tell you this because it's public knowledge. Apparently, allegedly, Mohammed Hijab got married to this woman, and it was a misyar marriage, a secret marriage in Islam, which is allowed in certain circumstances, and as long as there's, all the conditions are met, for example, a wali, witnesses, a mahr, etc., and they all agree, and both parties agree to the conditions that are going to dictate the marriage itself. So yeah, now look, at the end of the day, we don't know the ins and outs, the detailed evidence of what happened in this issue. Okay, we just don't know. We don't have access to that information at all. So is there any point? There is no point. I'll just come straight out. There is no point in discussing whether this marriage happened or not, because at the moment you have brother Mohammed Hijab denying the fact that the marriage happened at all. He's completely denying it, and obviously the sister is saying the marriage did happen. So it's his word against hers. Now, we can all be armchair critics and say, okay, I've seen the evidence, he has presented his evidence, and it seems like he's not married, or he was married, whatever. But this is not our place, not because it doesn't concern us. It does concern us, because obviously he's an important person, he's an important da'i, and this is happening to a brother and a sister of our community. So yeah, it does concern us, and what they do reflects on the ummah and the society we live in. So yeah, I'm not saying it's none of our business, it is our business, but the point is this: can we get to the bottom of this by sitting at home as armchair critics, looking at the evidence presented online by both sides? No, we can't. There is no way we can get to the bottom of this, because in this day and age, okay, we just don't know what is true and what is false. In this day and age of AI, we just don't know what is true, what is false. It's as simple as that. And more importantly, we don't have access to the information, the proof, the evidence. We are only getting proof that is being presented, curated, and then presented by each side. Okay? All they have to do is omit or include certain evidence, and we will be fooled. No idiot in this world would just take on board the evidence as presented online by either side. So it is not our job to come to a conclusion and make judgments. It is not our job. We're not in that position at all. We're just not in that position. Okay, we don't have the available proofs, the evidence in front of us. What we can do is we can critique the overall issue of whether this should have come into the public domain at all. This is our area. Should this have come to public attention in the first place? Because once it comes into public attention, okay, then it becomes our business, because it affects us, it affects our children, it affects our women folk, it affects our brothers and sisters in the society. Should it have come to this stage? Now this is where I will critique them, okay? I will critique them. Now the point here is, they know, Mohammed Hijab knows, or his brother, even Ali Dawah, knew that there was something going on, okay? It was boiling, simmering at a low heat for a long time. Long enough for Ali Dawah to have interviewed this woman, got her side of the story, and then made a video about her. So certain steps were taken. It was quite a long way in the journey before this issue hit the headlines, if you like. So what I would say is this: from the point of view of Mohammed Hijab or his friends and his buddies in Dawah, Why on earth did they let this get to this stage? Why on earth would you let this story simmer along and get to this stage? Because at the end of the day, she had a grievance, okay? It's not my position. I'm not in a position to say whether the grievance was legitimate or not, okay? Because I need to see the evidence and we don't have access to the evidence. A fair overview of the evidence, okay? That is the bar. That is the bar. That is the minimum. You need to have all the evidence in front of you before you make a judgment. And you need the two people in front of you presenting their cases with their witnesses, with their supporters, okay? Now, so we can't even go there. That's not even in the discussion here. What is for discussion, what we can critique is, why on earth did these people, both sides, I'm not blaming either side, let this become a scandal? That's what we can critique. That's where we can come in as the Ummah. Because once something like this becomes scandalous, this reflects on the Ummah and Deen al-Islam, okay? Now it affects every single one of us. Now, so, when Mohammed Hijab or his friends got sniff of this issue, whether it's true or not, whether this woman is crazy, a stalker, or a legitimate person who was aggrieved by Mohammed Hijab, any of these options, they should have dealt with it properly, adequately, in the proper Shari'i sense. What do I mean by that? They should have nipped it in the bud, in private, okay? Because they should have realized, with all their wisdom, with all their years of experience in da'wah, with all the enemies they're facing, with all the threats they're always under threat from the Zionists, from the Christians, from the fascists, etc. You should have known, okay, this has the potential to undermine everything we're doing. I'm going to nip this in the bud. How do I nip this in the bud? In private. That's the most important thing here, in private, okay? If this person is crazy or if this person is legitimate, okay, they need to be heard, okay? They need to be heard. Why? Because if they're not heard, this is what happens. These people become so desperate. So this woman became so desperate, okay? Again, I'm not saying that she's legitimate. She could be crazy. That she ended up going to people like Apis, rotten wood, as Ali Dawah says, etc. You've ignored this woman for so long, or you've rebuffed her in whatever sense, so that she was forced to go to other people, okay? Because there was a period in time where she was seeking help, okay? And because she couldn't get the help, she went to other people. I'm not saying that was right. Of course that wasn't right. Of course that wasn't right. That was disgusting of her, awful of her, to go to other people, especially the enemies of Islam, okay? But, brother, you nip it in the bud. You get hold of her, okay? You get hold of her and her people and her representatives, okay? Whoever she has, people she trusts. You get 2 people or 3 people, whatever, you get them on board, you get her on board, you bring your people, you bring your proofs, okay? And you hash it out in private, okay? Over 1 discussion, 2 discussion, 5 meetings, 20 meetings, whatever it takes. Anything so that it doesn't go in public. Because once it goes to public, it's out of control. The enemies of Islam now have ammunition on you, brother, on the ummah, on the religion. And this is going to affect, mark my words, people's iman. Because not everyone has strong steadfastness in their deen, istiqamah. A lot of people are on the brink. A lot of people are on the precipice, okay? And all they need is a little nudge. And when, especially in this day and age of celebrity. So as I said, this should have been dealt with in private, okay? With both parties present, and, you know, that it should have done whatever it takes, okay, to resolve it in private, so that it doesn't come out and become a huge scandal. Because this was, brothers and sisters, this was predictable. You could see this for a mile off, that this was going to become a big scandal, especially when it's such a controversial issue like secret marriages, okay? The Western world, a lot of people, even Muslims, even Muslims, the average Muslim would bristle at the idea of a secret marriage, because they don't know Islam in detail. They don't know the fiqh ruling on these issues, okay? For them, they were like, okay, instinctively they will say, okay, secret marriage, okay, this can't be part of Islam. This is disgusting. How could this brother do this? You know, how could this brother do this to this woman? So it is in your interest, you know, to literally go out of your way to explain to the people, or to go out of your way, yeah, to resolve it before it becomes public property. And this is, frankly, this is what's happened. Okay, you didn't take the necessary steps. You thought if you just ignored her or rebuffed her, that she would go away, that she would have no one to turn to. Well, come on, this is not how the world works, okay? Desperate people, or crazy people, or legitimate people with grievances, so I'm leaving all the options on the table, okay? They will find a way to come back at you, okay? And this is exactly what's happened. She's found a way to come back at you, okay? And now you have to defend yourself in the court of public opinion. Okay, now you have to defend yourself in the court of public opinion. You've got no choice now, and it's all coming out. And now nobody knows whether the evidence that is being presented is true or not. But it is being presented. It's basically people throwing mud at each other. Okay, people are throwing mud at each other in public, and nobody knows what is true. Some people think you're right, other people think she's right. Okay, nobody knows the truth. But what is for sure that is happening is, your reputation is going down the drain. Her reputation is going down the drain, even though less people know her. But at the same time, I'm sure certain people know her. Okay, she's known in the community, I'm sure. She's not a hermit. She's not an isolated individual. She's got a family. She's got relatives. Okay, so it's going to come out. She's going to be affected by this as well. So all these things are happening, and that is why you hear people out. Okay, look, for example, I'll give you an example. Say, for example, yeah, there's some crazy person outside my house, okay, knocking on my door 2 times a day, okay, every day for a week, okay. What do I do? Common sense, what do I do? If I ignore that person, right, I don't know what the guy is out there for. He could be there dying, for all I know, okay. He could be dying of something, yeah, and he can't speak, okay? He can't tell me what's going on, okay? He's just knocking on my door. Or he could be someone who's waiting for me to go out of the house so that he can jump on me. Or it could be someone that a relative of mine harmed, and now he's seeking revenge, and he's not going to come after me, but he's going to come after my wife or my children. We just don't know unless you confront that person. What do you do? If the person is not obviously like going to attack you, yeah, you go outside and you say, what's the matter? What's the matter, mate? What's happening? What's your issue? Why are you hanging outside my house? Okay. Now, if the person is, you know, approachable, you bring them into your house maybe, or you go outside and say, okay, you sit down with him and you have a talk with him. Why? Because you don't want things to be left in a state where they can go in directions which are not predictable. Okay, you don't want things to blow up in your face, okay? You don't want things to hit the fan. Okay, you want to contain the situation, so you confront the person. This is what should have happened. Ali Dawah, Tarawih, Sheikh Tarawih, whatever, these people should have gotten involved straight away, as they did, but then they backed off. Why? Probably at the orders of Mohammed Hijab. Probably, Allahu Alam. Or through their own volition, they probably backed off because they thought she was crazy. But as I said, it doesn't matter if she's crazy. It doesn't matter that she's crazy. That's not the point. That's not the point if she's crazy or not. As I said, if the man outside my house is a tramp and he's crazy, the fact of the matter is he is outside my house. And he is going to be a nuisance. He's going to be an issue for me, my children, my wife, if I ignore it. I have to address it. It's a fire. I can't ignore this fire. Okay, I have to put this fire out. So you confront the issue head on. Okay, you are proactive. You take the initiative. And this is what should have happened. He should have taken the initiative and said, okay, this crazy woman or this woman I may have done something to, okay, I'm going to hear her out. I'm going to see in private what I can do for her, okay? So, for example, let's take the hypothetical scenario that he did marry her. Now, I'm not saying he did or he didn't. Hypothetical, okay? This is what hypothetical means. It means we're just going to imagine this scenario. Let's just imagine that he did marry her, okay? And everything is legitimate, okay? You did it in line with the Shari'i principles, okay? And you may have bent the rules here and there, and therefore there are some grievances. She may have misunderstood you along the way, and you may have some misunderstandings between you and her, okay? And she got the wrong end of the stick, and now she is grieving over it. And maybe she has a legitimate reasons for grieving. Maybe you did mislead her, whatever. But, okay, she would be more willing, let me say this, she would be more willing to accept your explanation of what happened and accept her fate. Let's put it like this, her fate. She will be more willing to accept her fate if she gets the respect, if she gets a fair hearing, if she is not ignored and rebuffed, okay? She's more willing because at least she can say in her head, okay, that, okay, fair enough. I entered in a situation, in a set of circumstances that were a bit not ideal, okay? Fuzzy, grey areas, okay? But now it's over, there's no going back, okay? He's never going to take me back, he's made that clear. And now, but I need to have mental closure. I need to move on. This is Psychology 101, okay? The last thing you would do in that situation, you can do, if you're in Mohammed Hijab's, and this is exactly what he's done. He's done the worst thing you could do in this situation. You completely deny or ignore the other person. Because now, they're not even allowed to vent, okay? They're not even allowed to vent. They're not even allowed to move on anymore. They've been completely shut out. They can't move on anymore. Now you might say, okay, so let's just go with what you're saying, okay? Let's just go with the fact that Mohammed Hijab, let's go with the fact that he did the ideal thing, okay? He heard her out, okay? He hears her out. Now what's going to happen? She's going to keep venting and venting and venting and making his life a misery, and she will not move on, and he can't move on, and then it becomes a big issue in and of itself. Yes, that is a possibility, okay? That is a huge possibility that could happen. But now you know, okay, for a fact that you did everything in your power, okay, to resolve it in private. Now, if it goes out in public, okay, you're not going to say to yourself, okay, I could have done something about it, maybe this could have been resolved. I mean, now, if it goes public, and she ignores all the evidence that you presented to her, and she ignores all the advice of her side and your side, and she doesn't come to a resolution, okay, a conflict resolution, two things will happen, okay? One thing for sure, that flame inside her burning, that hatred for you, will have diminished a little bit because she's had a kind of a fair hearing, okay? She's had a meeting with you face to face, you've heard her out, you haven't completely ignored her, and she would feel much better as opposed to being completely ignored. Okay, so that's point one. So now, even if she is thinking of getting revenge, it's less likely that she would be thinking of getting revenge. It's less likely now because that flame of anger, okay, hatred she has for you will have diminished somewhat because of all the persistent meetings between you, your explanations coming forward, your evidence coming forward, her people explaining to her, your people explaining to her. Do you get me? There will be some kind of a consensus, even though it would not be anything perfect or ideal for her or him. Something will have been hashed out where both people can take away some kind of mental peace from those meetings if they would have taken place. And it's unfortunate that they didn't take place. That would have been, you know, one of the possibilities. And then, if she is crazy, okay, the fact that she is crazy and she ignores everything and there's no resolution possible with her and she still wants to go to other people, then at least you know this woman is crazy. You can condemn her as being crazy. You will have proof that she's crazy. Their side will know that she's crazy. Everyone will condemn her if she then decided to ignore the resolution and then she went to other people to try and get hijab back. If she carried on gung-ho as she has been doing, then, you know, everything will fall on her head. She will be responsible for everything. Everyone will be condemning her, and we would know black from white. Okay, that is how I imagine things would have played out if the necessary steps were taken in private. But because you haven't taken the necessary steps, nobody knows who's right or wrong. So many people, a lot of people are saying she's right. So many people are saying you're right. Okay, so now you've got a split in the ummah. The kuffar are fanning the flames, because obviously anything that hurts Islam is good for them. And now you are scrambling, brother. You are scrambling to find the necessary evidence, because they are throwing so much at you, evidence. You're throwing evidence back. Okay, now it's just a complete mess. And nobody knows where anyone is. Nobody knows who's right, who's wrong. Your reputation's being damaged. Her reputation's being damaged. This is not the ideal situation. This is not the ideal way to resolve it. Now, of course, what do I know? Okay, just ignore me. Okay, what do I know? I am looking at this from hindsight. And if this happened to me, maybe I would have done the same thing as brother Mohammed Hijab. So I'm not going to claim to have some ability to predict these things and to resolve these things. Okay, anyone can look back at a situation and, you know, think more lucidly about these things. And it's not necessarily the case that, you know, in the heat of the moment that you can think clearly. It's not always the case. So yeah, I think that's what should have happened, and it didn't happen, and we're in the situation we're in.